Hi guys, welcome back to Prep the Youth. I am your host Mel, and today we have some special guests with us, and they are...
My name is Dena.
My name is Sabrina Heard, that's Heard.
I am Linda H. Scruggs.
All right, and... Okay. As you can tell, things are a little different today. We have a nice panel, and then we have a nice, lovely guest in the back from our high schools in DC. You guys can make a little bit of noise. Yeah, love it. So today's going to be a little bit different. As we go along, I will be speaking to our panel, asking them some questions, and then afterwards we'll go ahead and have our girls ask them some questions as well. So for today, we are having a powerful conversation about lived experiences with HIV. And I would like to first go down the line and ask you guys the question of, how long have you been living with HIV? Anyone of you. It could be with anyone of you.
Since 1989, March 11th.
Love it.
1991.
I was diagnosed with HIV on November the 21st, 1990, while I was 13 weeks pregnant with my son.
Yeah. And, I know that it's probably been different for all of you and how, you took the diagnosis and how you found out. So with that being said, how were you guys able to take in the news and go ahead and continue, doing the things that you needed to keep yourself safe and keep your family safe as well?
Mine was after getting diagnosed. I was pregnant, and I decided, okay, not knowing, so I just took the test and found out that I was. What kept me was my mom, because she told me I was strong and I was mean and determined, and I was going to outlive everyone. So that inspired me just to know that she had that confidence that I could live with it, and I wasn't dying, because my first thought was that I was dying.
I was also pregnant. That date I gave you was the date of my daughter's birth. It was a C-section. And initially when I was diagnosed, I had just had her, and I was in the room at Howard University Hospital. And I refused. I didn't know a lot about HIV, and they didn't give me any information at that time. So I refused to believe I was dying. So I created this fantasy. And in a sentence simple, I said, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm gonna need this for something that's coming down the line in the future. What do you know? Here comes COVID. And I said, I ain't worried about COVID because I take antiretrovirals.
For me, I was diagnosed, I was 24. So I was 24 years old, and probably like most 24-year-olds, thinking I was getting ready to start and do something new. And I'm hard-headed, I'm stubborn. So I think what really changed, because the day I was diagnosed, I was told that me and my baby both would be dead in 3 years. And they offered me a termination, which is abortion, and it was the day before Thanksgiving. And I think what really made me thrive, or not just look at it as death, was I'm rebellious. I was mad that it was 3 white men trying to make a decision for me at a time with not giving me information. I had no information. No one had ever told me that having sex with my boyfriends would lead me to an HIV diagnosis. And then there were 3 men that day telling me to make a decision right now about my body. So I think my survival was to prove that they were wrong, but also because I made a decision to have a baby. He became my motivation to maintain spaces.
I want to first off say, it's really inspiring to see you guys up here, and from not knowing anything to being able to realize that this is not a death sentence. I have so much more to live for, and there's always people out there for me. And I know that sometimes the vision of death is the main thing that kind of overtakes everybody. I'm just okay, I'm not gonna take the step to kind of save myself, but then also do more, right? So with that being said, how did from point A to where you are now, how did everything change in your perspective as far as, advocacy, like, self-care? How did all of that change for you from finally realizing that you're, figuring out that you're HIV positive to now?
Well, at first it was like you felt helpless, but hopeless as well. But just knowing that now, because back in the day, I did not have an HIV doctor. I just had a general practitioner, and I was given everything under the sun, not knowing. So, just today having these ladies right here, a strong network, because there's always somebody that's same as you or worse off than you, and we have to remember that and just try to find a comfort in somebody, because you're not going to be alone in anything that you go through as women. So try to hold on to have at least one person. A network would be even better.
Well, I was in denial for 11 years. You couldn't talk to me or get me to admit to my health condition. And I met a woman at a place that I went, and she was talking about her medications, or we were in a vitamin therapy, but she was talking about it like we were just discussing what we gonna wear the next day, like you go to the closet. So I immediately wanted to start getting informed, because I didn't have no information and didn't seek none at the time. But I was adopted, more or less to say, by a women's organization. It was called the Women's Collective, which I stayed there for about 20 years. And as I learned more about my health condition, I was in a position to be an advocate and to speak and to connect with other women with the same health condition. And that was one thing that motivated me to be comfortable. And also one other thing, there was this piece of artwork that at this place I went to, and it said, "You are only as sick as your secret." So I had to let somebody know. So I've been disclosing my status in some form or another ever since.
Big question. I think for me, so I am a person who HIV was never a secret. I left the clinic that night, and when I left the clinic, my first thought was to go kill myself. It really was. It was a real option. But I love telling this part of the story. I had an old car that they don't even make anymore. It's called a Chevy Chevette. And it drove like 35 miles an hour when my foot was on the floor. It was dying. And I went to a bridge. I was living in Baltimore, and I drove to the Delaware Bridge, and I had decided to jump off the bridge. I did not want this future. And while I was at the bridge, I realized, well, London, you can jump. It's November. That water is real cold, and you do know how to swim. Well, what happens if you change your mind when you jump the bridge and you're in all that cold water? So I got back in my car and I went home. And I went home and I told my partner. His response was what I needed, and I'm a woman of faith. I wasn't then, but it was in me. Faith was a big part of me not jumping the bridge. It was a voice that I heard that said that you're going to be all right. And when I heard that at the bridge, and when I got home to my son's father, I call him my practice husband, that's another time. We weren't married, and he said the same thing I heard at the bridge. He said it's going to be all right. And that was a great motivator for me. But he wanted to keep HIV a secret. He wouldn't get tested, he wouldn't do anything. So in his secret space, I went, because back there they didn't have programs, they didn't have education. I went to the Red Cross actually. I was a cosmetologist, had a very successful cosmetology career, that I was going to be the cosmetologist of the stars. That was my goal. And no pun intended, I cut it all off, I got tired of it. And I got educated through the Red Cross. Because that was the only thing then, if you was a health provider or someone, you was giving Red Cross classes. And I went under the false instance that I needed to be certified in HIV because the clinic was teaching me how to die. The clinic was teaching me how to sign my son over for when I die, make those kinds of decisions. And I saw something different. I don't know what the secret sauce, what the black girl magic was in me. I didn't know I had it, but I absolutely remember one day in Southeast at Unity Hospital, my very best friend's sister was dying of AIDS. And I looked out the window and I made a decision at that moment that was not going to be my narrative. And I, for the first time, I opened my mouth up. I'm an introvert naturally. I don't want to talk to nobody. I had a hard time talking to these young ladies, but the thought of not having life actually gave me life. And for the first time, I began to advocate for other women. My son is 34. He's not HIV positive.
Love that.
And that gave me a tool, because unlike many ladies in the clinic with me, their babies were positive. So I used the victory of his negative diagnosis and became a voice for other women. And at Johns Hopkins, at the Capitol, I started talking about HIV, the mothers who couldn't talk because of the stigma, because they wanted to protect their children. I always say God orchestrated me a voice to begin advocacy. Part of the reason why Isaiah was diagnosed, because I believe there was a voice needed. And it's risky, but I have been very successful in utilizing it as a tool from victory to victorious.
Amen. Yes, that's the same way I feel about it, because in contracting HIV, it has shown me to how to care for myself, other people, and not be worried about what people. I worry about what people say, but I know within myself who I am, and I just strongly just believe in that. And I've immediately found somewhere to go to be around other women with this sickness, because I came from Maryland to DC. Once I moved to DC, before I moved there, I found a group, HIV group of women to go to, because I wasn't going to move to DC not knowing anybody and not having support, because support is very, very important. I've seen women, I've been in a long time, so I've seen women that come in timid, shy, and don't talk. I'm very talkative. I'm a people person, and I share my status anywhere with anybody, because I'm Dena and can't nobody be Dena, and I'm happy with myself.
Exactly.
So yes,
Exactly. Okay, great. And everything you guys said has really stuck with me a lot, because believe it or not, the part about secret, that's a big thing for me, as in I'm also a person living with HIV, but I keep it secret and I keep it to myself. So hearing you guys speak, hearing you guys tell your story has kind of been wow, okay. There's certain things that I'm taking steps, but at the same time, I'm keeping it to myself. So I really, really appreciate you guys for coming up here and,
Can y'all hear Melissa? They can't hear you, Melissa. And you just said something real important.
Yes.
Exactly.
My apologies. I was saying that with what they were saying, it's very inspiring, because for me, I keep my truth a secret a lot, because I am also a person living with HIV, and I don't tell people. I keep it to myself. I just keep it in my family. So speaking with them being here has kind of been a big eye-opener, and it's allowing space for me to kind of come out a little bit more, and then also speak to people that understand what's going on. But with that being said, I want us to take a quick break really quick and turn it to the floor before we come back to the panel. So what we're going to do really quickly is that if you have any questions, raise your hand and we will come around with a mic. Yes. And if you want to say your name, you can. If you don't, it's fine. No worries.
And we need to get them to go to the mic.
Oh, she can. No, they don't have to. She can stay right there.
Oh, no, they won't reach over there.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, you can go ahead. If you don't want to be in camera, you can go around.
She didn't know.
Hi, my name is Sabrina.
Hi.
I got a Canada. My question from Ms. Blood is how you dealt with your mental health.
How how did I deal with my mental health? That is so important. Wow.
That's a great question.
HIV, and y'all can call me Auntie, Miss, sound like I'm your grandmother's friend or somebody. Mental health is important. For many of us, I see young black women in the room, and I see my ally here. But I also know that for many of us, we experience traumas. We experience sadness, we experience abuse, we experience a lot of things. Before my HIV diagnosis, I had experienced a lot of life. I had been molested, I had experienced 2 rapes by the time I was 21. And then it was the HIV diagnosis. I like to tell people I did not contract HIV from either one of those rapes. I like to tell people I contracted it the night that I was having sex from a chandelier. You have to read the book. See, right there, I got you. Because that's my narrative. HIV actually, out of all those other life experiences, it introduced me to mental health services. Because it's not enough just to live, be alive. I was alive, I chose to live. And mental health services was that entryway to not just cover up another piece of pain. So mental health, so I have been in and out of mental health services since 1991. My son was born in 91, and shortly after his birth, I went into mental health services, not about HIV, about, quite honestly, if somebody tell you you're getting ready to die, like how do you live life? Not like you're going to die, but in reality, nobody knows what tomorrow is. And I wanted to be happy. I don't know if I knew really what happiness is because I had pain, and HIV added to the pain. And it was an opportunity, it was a warning sign for me to say that I have 2 beautiful parents. I grew up in the middle suburbs of DC. I don't want to apologize for any of that, but I still hurt. I had the best schools. I could have went to any college I wanted to, but I still hurt. So mental health that entryway allowed me to decrease the pain. It allowed me to learn to manage pain. But more than anything, it gave me a space of forgiveness. So I ain't mad at the world. I don't want nobody to have the experience of being diagnosed with HIV, but I love telling people, for me, it absolutely wasn't the worst thing that ever happened to me. Because I don't know, because of the introvert, I don't know if I would have had the tools to heal. I didn't know, because we didn't have the Girls Inc. We didn't have these spaces in my community that helped me understand like what beautiful, black, wonderful girl space that I am. But mental health services is for anybody who wake up one day and they feel sad. They have a question on identity life. Not in identity of sexual orientation, identity in self. So I'm a strong component. My dad died 2 years ago, and I found myself not trying to figure out what to do. I said, time to go call him up. Hello. It's not a stigma. I don't apologize. I market mental health services because everybody needs somebody other than their BFF to process what's happening in their life.
I too am on. Oh, I'm sorry.
No. So
I apologize. I just wanted to share as far as the mental health is very, very serious. I myself have been on it as long as she has, since 91, and I still suffer. I still suffer it within myself, in my own space, in my own head. It's not even the HIV. It's not even that, and I can't shake it, can't get around it, but we don't have enough therapy. We can get that medication all day. When you find yourself in a space and you don't know what to do, don't go and take that medication. Give yourself some time, some thought to speak to somebody, because get on that medication, you can't get off. You cannot get off of it once you start it. You can't get off. And I have to take it the rest of my life.
Does anybody have any questions? You guys can come up this way. Ask your questions.
A long line of questions.
While they coming up, can I make a comment about something, Melissa, right?
Yes.
That she said earlier, she talked about not sharing your diagnosis. And I want to validate, that that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? There are many folks who do share and there are many folks who don't. And even particularly, I know we're talking about PrEP, when I think about spaces, even U equal U, right? Because treatment is so advanced that not everybody's finding the same narrative needing to disclose. My early disclosure was I had nieces that were 13, 14 making, and how many of y'all at 17, like when the boy 21 say something to you? Now, we don't look at how much sexual experience he already had, right? So my disclosure was very selfish in the fact that I wanted to influence the sexual behavior of my nieces, Not everybody, not all of y'all. I was real focused that I had 8 great, beautiful nieces, and I wanted to influence them. So I think now you may not need to disclose. If I had U equal U, if I had PrEP, I probably could do something different. Disclosure is a gift.
Oh, yes.
It's a gift.
Oh my
and
God.
you choose what gift you give to people, and you should have a reason for your gift, whether it's mental health, whether it's HIV, whether you have had sexual assault, whatever. It's a gift.
It is.
And you get to determine, just like Christmas time or birthdays, what do you want to give this person? Don't give me no gift cards, y'all. What that gift is. I just wanted to add, to validate, not necessarily being peer pressured into disclosure experiences, but making your own self choices.
Hi, I have a question. My name is Sabrina. I have a question. Okay, so when you've been on your medical issue, right? Do you get sad or when you overthink it? Do you get in a moment?
That is a great question.
That's a good question. Do y'all ever get in moments or get sad about your...
Oh, yes. From time to time in the past, okay, this is 2025, and I've been living with HIV for 35, maybe 36 years in a few days. I would get very sad, and I am a person who has taken drugs, for that sadness. But in these days now, because of all those biomedical improvements that Linda just spoke of, I don't have to be sad. I feel like I'm a very sexually active and attractive woman, and I do give that gift to anyone who might be interested.
Yes.
And I can usually tell right offhand, But I'm not sad now, but there has been very, very, very sad moments in my life living with my health condition.
I have been the happiest I've ever been coming up as a little girl when I remember the traumas, the things that I went through. I'm at the peak of my life at 65 in May, and I'm just loving life, and I'm so happy to be here to share with you all. And I want to say one other thing. Whatever substance, if any substance that you use, please don't let it take you to having no sex unprotected or anything, because that doesn't, no matter if it's a weed, a beer, or drink, whatever it is, and there's a lot going around now. It's not good. If you ain't using nothing, don't use nothing. There's no need to use it if you never experience it. Why? I got my HIV from being a drug user.
Thank you.
Hi, so yeah, we are running a little bit short on time, but we do have 2 questions that we'd love you guys to answer, so give us the next one. Hello, my name is Joy, and my question is, when you first got diagnosed, did that stop you from being sexually active?
Absolutely not. I'm sorry.
Oh, we have 2 different answers.
No, I'm sorry. It didn't stop me from being sexually active, because I told you I went home and shared with my partner. Probably didn't have sex maybe for a couple of weeks. But y'all know, I told y'all I was young, right? It still work. There are things that you have to do, right?
Yeah, you still want something.
We learned what safer sex was.
Yes.
We learned
Exactly.
You know, they're dental dams. So even now with things like you equal you, and you know, I'm virally suppressed. I'm married now, and my husband also is a person living with HIV. And even though we both are virally suppressed, and we can't transmit HIV to each other, but I'll tell you what we do. We still use condoms. And I'll tell you why. Where am I at today? I'm here with y'all. Where my husband at? I don't know where that dude is at. I know I left him home. I'm real talk, girls. We don't know where, just like he really don't know where I am. So protection is about you and them. So even our married spaces, they're married women that aren't safe because of their partner's behavior, or their partner may not be safe because the female's behavior. I want to be clear about that. Safety could be a false reality. I'm in a monogamous relationship. He tells me he's in a monogamous relationship. Real talk. I don't know where it is, and he don't know where mine is neither. I just happen to be here with y'all.
I just like to say, initially when I was diagnosed, I immediately started getting information about transmission and all those things. And I found out that oral sex was the least transmittable out of the ways that you can have sex. So I began to practice oral sex, and I got pretty good at it.
I'm loving today. Today's great.
She looking like, oh my goodness.
Well, that's what
It's,
I did.
it's real talk. Last question.
My name is Alicia, and I just want to ask, like, what motivated you to keep going?
Say that again.
What motivated you to keep going?
What motivates me? Seeing young black women like y'all. I mean, that motivates me that I do a lot of talking. I do a lot of international talking now. And when Khadijah asked me to come, I was like, oh crap. But I didn't want to pass up the opportunity because I didn't know my sisters would be here. We know each other, right? And we know not often our parents are providing us the information, the education we need. So I'm motivated that young black women are thriving. They're getting informed. They're having the tools. I wish I could tell you, like I told my sons, don't have sex till you get married. But even if you do that, I just told you, some people still are not monogamous. It motivates me that you're here. I see that you're attentive. I hear that you're listening. And if I walk away, would be that you make the sexual decisions that's best outcome for you, per the conversations that you hear around this conversation.
As far as when it comes to having sex, being HIV and still being sexually active, myself, I choose to do myself and be by myself. That's my personal preference today, because I've experienced a lot with men at a young age. But you can find someone to love you for you and with that HIV, and they will love you even more, because I found that. But I don't want it anymore. I'm about myself now. But it's a pleasure, it's an honor to be here with you ladies, and I stress it hard because I have a lot of young nieces and great nieces, and I even put my pull-up on, my diaper, in front of the little ones. I'm a children person. I teach these children, when you get baby in a diaper, auntie's in her diaper. When you get older, you're gonna be back in the diaper. Just the stages that we go through, you know. But it's nothing's kept secret.
My motivation comes from, I have a history of working with an organization, being a peer to women who are with the same health condition. And in that time, I know that I have helped quite a few women save their lives, you know, from understanding the importance of taking your medicine every day. But today, my motivation is there are still women who are losing their lives as a result of being with the health condition that they have. And also, education because, you know, I live in a community where I can still hear my neighbors and people talk. And it's a lot of people out here who still aren't educated. They are the ones with the stigma around HIV. And believe me, there's a great need, you know, or just they just might be scared. You know, I don't know what their thing is. I know my thing is. But in conclusion, it's always not as great as it was back when, like 20 years ago. But right now, there's still a great need for education around this health condition.
And I want to thank you guys again so much for being here. You guys have given out a lot of knowledge. You know, you've I think everybody here has taken in what you said and the information that you've given them to understand, like, you know, not specifically your lives have been like living with HIV. And thank you for sharing your story, because I know that is probably something hard, but we love that you're here to share. And I also want to thank you guys as well for listening, and for everybody that came up and asked questions. I want to thank you. But if you guys have any other questions or want to ask anything else, please feel free to ask them, because they will still be here afterwards. So I want to say thank you again, and have a good one. Bye.